to day 5, the end of the first official week of the Great Hiatus. I want to thank you if you've been following along this week. I also want to thank you if you're just joining us. If you are just joining us, there are some other videos in this series, and you're welcome to check those out via our YouTube channel. I am also going to, later this afternoon, embed all of those previous videos on our assignment blog, sausageandbeer.wordpress.com. So if there's anything you missed, feel free to catch up. If you wanted to ask a question and have not done so or haven't had the opportunity yet, you're still welcome to do that. And you can do it one of two ways. You can post your question for me either in the comments on YouTube for this video, or you can go back to the original Instagram post of a couple of days ago where we put up the call for questions. Either way is fine. We have plenty of questions to keep us busy for a while, but I'm certainly not averse to more. So if you have something to ask, please go ahead and ask it, and we will try to get to your question as soon as we can. Now, special thank you to all the people who sat through yesterday's video. 20 minutes, I probably went a little bit over the top, so we're going to try to keep things a little bit more focused today and just deal with a single question. But it is a good question, and it's a question that I think deserves its own response. And it comes from user LoveBuzz, who asks, who or what is your biggest inspiration? And don't say something cheesy like you guys, unless you really think we're that special. Now, I think there are two parts to this. One part is the question itself, but the other part is the skepticism of this question, which I believe is warranted and I believe deserves a little bit of explanation. I think the skepticism comes from the sad fact that students are used to being glad-handed by teachers. It just happens. And one of my least favorite expressions of this, and raise your hand out there in YouTube land if you've ever heard this one before, I learn just as much from you guys as you learn from me. Do I even have to expound on how stupid an idea this is? I don't have to, but I probably should. Try to think about it this way for just a moment. And I don't think this will require a lot of imagination for many of our viewers. Imagine that you get up at 5:30 so that you can start your day to get to your hub, to get to your bus so that you can get to Lincoln Park 3 some hours later to start your school day. You stayed up late last night doing a ton of homework, and you know you're going to have a ton of homework again today. And you're also going to be staying after school. So your day is effectively a 12, a 13, maybe a 14 or 15-hour day of education and education-related activities. And let's say just before dropping you off at your hub, your parent, your guardian says, "Okay, honey, have a great day, and remember, be sure to do a great job of educating your teachers." Listen, if I'm learning as much from you as you're learning from me, then you're going to the wrong school, and I ought to be fired. And yet we hear this sort of thing over and over again. Where do ideas this dumb come from? They don't just appear. I don't think they come from somewhere. And this one I think we can trace back to a mid-18th century Swiss philosopher named Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Now I'm going to spare you the philosophy lesson, that's for another day. But Rousseau's idea, his set piece in a nutshell, is that the problem with civilization is civilization. In other words, that people are born more or less perfect, and it is civilization, that it is society that actually corrupts them. His pull quote was, "Man is born free, and yet everywhere he is in chains." So it's a short leap from that idea to the idea that if we're born free and we get worse as we become civilized, that therefore children have some innate wisdom. It's not just innocence that we ought to value them for, it's their innate smarts. It's the stuff that we can learn from kids. Now, I'm going to spare you the ways in which this was proven untrue in Rousseau's own life, and you'll thank me for that someday. But when you think about the people who were inspired by Rousseau, and it's a list that includes not only uh, Karl Marx, Vladimir Lenin, Joseph Stalin, pretty much any tin pot dictator of the 20th century who was inspired by his concept of the general will, about which more maybe some other time. When you think about that list of people who were inspired by Rousseau, you have to think, wow, if I were trying to put together a list of the 10 worst people in history, I would have to think pretty long and hard about including Rousseau on it. So, skepticism. We can trace some of that back to Rousseau and his incredibly flawed ideas of human nature and humanity generally. But let's get to the question itself about inspiration. Because inspiration is one of these words that I think has kind of lost its meaning. We hear it all the time, and yet we've kind of lost track of what it actually means. So I took the liberty of getting out one of these. You may remember them. And I just want to read you what it says about inspire, which of course is the root word of inspiration. It has a lot of different definitions, but there are two that I think we ought to pay particular attention to. One of them is to exert an animating, enlivening, or exalting influence on. And then another one that I like even better, and I think is even more to the point, to spur on, impel, motivate. And if we think about motivate as to inspire someone to do or be better, then I think we have a pretty good idea of what inspiration actually means. So, the question, inspirations, what inspires me to do or be better? Well, I got to tell you, I don't want to turn this into the Academy Awards speech because nobody wants or needs to hear that, but I've been very blessed to live a life that is filled with people and things that I find inspirational. Start with the people that I work with, most notably Mrs. Beringer and Mrs. West. Mrs. Beringer has been inspiring, has been motivating me for the past 13 years. She comes up all the time with ideas, great ideas, things that I would have never thought of in a million years. And those ideas certainly inspire me to try to do and be better. When I see how much Mrs. West loves her students, the enthusiasm she has for them, and the ideas that she tries to come up with to engage them and involve them more in our department, I can't help but be inspired by that. I think about Mr. Cameron, the guy who did our bumper music. He's been inspiring me ever since I came to Lincoln Park back in 2006, one of the most talented people on our faculty. I think about the guy who brought me here, Mr. Catanzarete, who was the head of Lincoln Park Performing Arts Center. He's been inspiring me since college. I don't have enough time to list all the ways artistically and personally that he has been a great, great inspiration to me, both he and his family. The leadership of our school. If you could see behind the scenes, you would see that here's a group of people, especially during this difficult and challenging time, who really take seriously the idea that their job is to inspire the people who work for them and the students who are in their purview. And you got to say, that is inspirational. I have to say that other artists inspire me. I mentioned this book yesterday, this Malcolm Gladwell book, Talking to Strangers. I was just reading some of it earlier today. I was thinking, man, the books that I'm working on, I want them to be like this. I want them to reach this level. And that's just one of many, many artistic examples I could give, but that is definitely inspirational. My parents and my brother. My parents are in their 80s, and my brother is younger than me, but all three of them have undergone incredible hardships over the past few years, and yet they haven't been knocked down by any of this stuff. They keep getting back up and saying, okay, what do you got next? And they are all three incredibly inspirational for me. My kids, I've been fortunate enough to have three kids who have also been students at Lincoln Park, so I've had the additional inspiring part of trying to inspire them, not just as my children, but also as my students. And they've inspired me every single day, all three of them, ever since they got here. Um, I have to say, at the top of my list is my wife. She has been inspiring me for more than 25 years that we've been married. And I got to tell you, if you're not married to someone who doesn't make you want to do and be better every day, you're probably with the wrong person. But I'm incredibly blessed to be with someone who, ever since I've known her, has inspired me to do and be better and continues to do that. My faith, I would have to say, is a huge, huge inspiration. When I go to Mass and go to confession, it's impossible not to want to do and be better as a result of those experiences. There are lots more things that I could say, but that brings me to you, Love Buzz, and all of your fellow students. Are you guys inspirational? Absolutely. Every day. Every day, because we're so fortunate at Lincoln Park to have a group of students who are so smart, who are so curious, who are driven, who aren't afraid to call us on things when they have a question or have a different opinion. Those are good things. Those are inspiring things. Those make you, as a teacher, want to do and be better. And if you're a teacher and you're not inspired by your students, what kind of teacher are you really? And I got to tell you, I think I speak for all teachers here, we all fail. Every lesson isn't a success. And when you get back into your office or wherever you go after a class and you realize, man, that class didn't work. I thought it was going to work, but it really didn't work. I did not do what I set out to do. That's tough. I still take that pretty hard, even after 14 years of some pretty high highs and some pretty low lows. So the nice thing about it, though, is when you have an inspiring group of students, failure just means you got an opportunity the next day to make things right, to make things better. And I think that's the philosophy that I know we have in this department, and I'm pretty sure is true throughout Lincoln Park, which is one of the things that makes it such an inspiring place to work. So I hope this weekend everybody out there finds some inspiration. Make sure that you follow us if you have not done so on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, where we're offering lots of inspiring challenges, inspiring contests and publication opportunities. You don't want to miss your opportunity to get one of those digital decline stickers that we're offering on Instagram. So I hope that, well, let me say this first of all. I'm going to take a couple of days off if that's okay with everybody, and we'll be back at it on week 2 of the Great Hiatus next Monday. But I hope everybody has a great and inspiring weekend. And if you're searching around for inspiration, go back to the definition and think about it in that way. The thing that motivates you, the thing that makes you want to do and be better. If you don't have something like that, hey, find it. It's out there for sure. And if you do have it, then use that to guide you and have a fantastic, inspiring, productive, safe, great hiatus weekend number 1. And we will be back with you for sure next week. More questions, more opportunities, because all this is an opportunity. That's part of what inspiration means, I think, is treating things as an opportunity. That's what we're trying to do here. So, everybody, signing off for now. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being inspiring, and we'll be back to try to inspire you maybe a little more next week. Have a great weekend, everyone, and we will see you Monday.